Guys, everybody thinks that Facebook posts are dead, but I literally just made $3,000 from like a ugly as shit Facebook post, and nobody's even talking about the numbers. Like I don't even know why. Maybe they're embarrassed. But the good news for you is that I don't give a fuck about going viral, and I'm not embarrassed. So I'm going to show you in just a second what it looks like inside my Facebook dashboard, and also the reason why I care about conversions. Here we see that my well-performing posts. So this is just what the views look like. Let me just refresh so you could see. So you can already tell that the text style posts and then the photo posts are the ones that are earning me, according to Facebook, the majority of what I'm getting, right? And then if I come back out here, content, this is where you will see that my well-performing posts are earning anywhere from, let's say, like 15 all the way up to roughly about 50 cents, 24 cents. Some of them are a little bit higher on Facebook, but that's just the tip of the iceberg.
2 weeks later.
The text type of posts, they're still winning. And while the earnings on Facebook, yeah, they've increased a little bit, sure. But the problem is, that still Facebook is paying creators very little. It's almost embarrassing. I don't really want to count on an algorithm to be the reason that, you get paid for any reason. Let me show you something. Phone, I just swipe down. I don't know if you can actually see what's happening here. All right, so I just swipe down, and obviously those are all just like Stripe notifications. For you, that's really what you're going to care about, right? That you're getting paid. So you either need to have your own offer or you need to promote somebody else's offer. Like, let's say if you're an affiliate marketer or something, that's fine. For me, all I like to focus on is just taking the attention, even though it's minuscule, super tiny here, that Facebook is giving to me, even though they're trying to nickel and dime me. They're paying me for this text post here, $1.45. Okay, cool. This post, it had a photo, but also some text, 71 cents. A photo, this one was actually 2 photos together, 62 cents. Like, I'll just give you an example, so hopefully it loads. But at any rate, my objective is anybody who engages, comments, stuff like that. I follow up with these people in the DMs, and then regularly I'm having these types of conversations, and these people, if they're problem aware and mildly solution aware, it's a person who turns into a high ticket client, right? So that's my objective. I'm not focused on Facebook, whether or not they're giving, 60 cents, 15 cents, whatever. Like, I don't care about that part. For me, anybody who engages, comments on the content, specifically for these textile posts, since they're getting the most reach, when a person sees the post and they ask a question or something, I always first make sure that I'm commenting to that person publicly. Then I will follow up with that individual in DM. Like right now, I've got 4 that are waiting for me for pending offers. And these are people that they need the actual help for an issue or something that I can in fact solve. So part of the problem that you will find often is a lot of these gurus and so-called experts, what they're going to leave out is that all views are not equal. Okay. So here I am showing to you like the age and gender, and I know enough about my offer and my audience specifically that I know who's going to pay me. And I know that people from Pakistan, from Bangladesh, like this is the lifetime of the actual account itself, not just the last 90 days. But I know that these people can't afford my services. I know that. So when I know this, I'm not focused on people from Pakistan. I'm not focused on people from India. And I'm certainly not focused on people from the Philippines. Excuse me. Now, that's not to say that every person from those type of locations or regions of the world are indigent and they can't afford you. That's false, right? That's a false narrative. You could be located in Bali where they don't have very strong currency, and you could still be an expat, right? From a first world country, let's say. So I don't want to make it seem like everybody from those countries, it's like bad versus good. That's not really the language I want to use. Instead, I'd rather frame it as a person who is from, let's say, the US, the UK, Canada, for example. My preference is identifying early enough in the conversation when I'm having a chat with someone, when I'm following up with someone who's engaged with that content, whatever it is, whether it was text or an image or something. I'm identifying, can this person afford me, essentially? Right? Am I going to be fighting tooth and nail to try and justify or help create a belief shift for that person, not just a value shift with whatever I'm communicating with my words inside of the DM, not just the content, the text-based content that I'm providing. So that's another thing that you essentially want to kind of keep in mind, because you have to be aware of where your audience is, not just psychologically, but also where they're located in the world, because it's going to play a really big role in whether or not they can potentially afford your high ticket service. And if they're not, this is part of the reason why having a value ladder is so important. Let me go ahead and also show one other thing before I show you the prompt. For Facebook, you want to think of it like this. The money that they're going to pay you once your profile is monetized is going to come in from the people who are typically saving, sharing, and or commenting or engaging with your posts, okay? Now, typically, that's just peanuts. That's not the priority. That's not the focus. It's what happens afterwards that really matters. Now, if you zoom out, after you post online, typically someone's going to see that content. They're going to do one of two main things. Either they're going to keep watching more of your stuff, or they're going to go away and never come back because that piece of content didn't add value to their life or give them some new, way of being or doing or thinking about the world. Okay. And let's pretend, for instance, you post a piece of content, they enjoy the content, Facebook is happy, the algorithm is happy because 5 hours later, what is the person doing? They're still staying on that platform. Okay. Now, if we think about this in simple terms, the average user is typically, so let's say the 5 hours as an example, they're consuming content. They're not necessarily creating content. So if you are creating, the priority, now that you know this is the way the algorithm works, priority is to make sure that the person doesn't end up bored. Instead, they're like, okay, yes, please tell me more, what's going on, etc. And that sounds wonderful. So we don't come across as annoying or an imposition, but instead the objective or final goal is that the person instead is actually giving us money. Now, let's zoom out for a second and let's kind of think about the person comes into your ecosystem, trust grows, you're posting content, etc., and the way that it, impacts them, what actually is going to end up happening. So if we zoom out, here we have the different platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X, and of course, TikTok, right? Now this person, top of funnel, we'll just say TOF, top of funnel. This person is your average user, your average individual. At the moment, they might not actually be the best fit for your product or service. And this person is really not impressed either with who you are because maybe you sound like everyone else. They haven't quite yet had the epiphany necessary to become your ideal client profile, okay? But let's say that you post a piece of content, so I'll just write content here. You post a piece of content that really strikes a chord and makes them question things, okay? So they're over here thinking, wait, what's going on? What are you talking about? Hold on. And then they start paying more attention, and as they begin paying more attention, we come in this direction where the person is starting to question things, actually analyze perhaps. Maybe they're engaging with your content. Maybe they're just lurking. And as they get beyond this epiphany and the hump positions you as the authority, the thought leader, this individual gets more and more excited and potentially looks forward to the type of content that you're putting out, okay? Increasing the likelihood that they will engage in your content and also feel like they understand you, trust you, and know you, all right? So now we have this person who I wouldn't go as far as to say they're subservient or submissive to you, but instead they're just simply paying attention. They are listening. They see a notification with a piece of content that you're putting out, and they're some of the first people to engage or like or pay attention and look at that or ask you a question about it. And this is really where we want people, okay? This is where we really want them because it means that they're middle of the funnel. They're in the middle of the journey, getting closer and closer to actually investing money or buying something from us. Now the person is overwhelmed, excited. They can't wait. And they are just steps away from bottom of funnel, that's BOF there, to pay you, to invest in working with you. So when we look at this from this point of view, this perspective, right, we post content, we do want people who are engaged in some way, shape, or form with the content, even if they're lurking, they're saving it, they're reposting it, they're sharing it, they're sending a heart or something, even if they never comment, even if they never ask a question, but at the very least, they're sending these buyer signals to you, this awareness signals, because once we get them to this segment here, middle of the funnel, the individual can in fact visualize how you will get them from point A to point B, and they can see themselves as one of your future clients. And then of course, naturally, it just leads to that person paying you money. When somebody comes into my ecosystem, they're looking at a lot more of my content, and I can tell that their trust is growing. They request to join my Facebook group, or they end up signing up to be part of my email list, or they're interacting with my stories, And nobody can see that except me, for example, right? These are little tiny buyer signals and indicators. That doesn't necessarily mean the person's going to spend the money tomorrow or within 1 hour, unless, of course, I put out an offer or I send them a personalized message, perhaps. But in that moment, when I get these simple signals, it tells me where they are specifically in that journey, right? That framework that I just demonstrated. So, what I like to do, because this is just how my analytical brain works, I add these individuals to a CRM. It's very simple. I put it all inside of Airtable and I message this type of person based on their value indicator. The value indicator, I'll save that for a separate video, but in layman's terms, it helps me identify based on past client history and past client LTV, what somebody is likely to spend over the course of working with me. But the only reason that I wouldn't reply or follow up with someone is because their value indicator is literally zero, meaning that the likelihood of them spending money and staying with me for a minimum of 6 months is so low that it's the cost efficiency is just not worth it for me to outreach and follow up with these people. When I put out an offer, I know where they are exactly in the journey, who's the best fit, and that makes it easier for me to personalize the offer. So then I can feel like things are being conversational. I don't have to think really hard, and I've tracked everything, so I kind of know their situation, their context, and they feel like it's being personalized. So that allows both of us to feel like, in the real world, you're having a conversation with somebody and you just pick up where you left off, right? And this right here is the ChatGPT prompt that started it all. This one right here, but I'll make sure to leave that inside the description below. Plain and simple, you want it to be a situation where, like, if you say a keyword or you put out an activation offer of some kind, you want people to reply to you in DM or comment that keyword, and then you just send them a link for the Google Doc or your offer or whatever it is straight to the checkout, and then they pay, right? And you don't need to do any extra work or chase views or dance or any of that other dumb shit.